Everyone, this is Zoph. You are watching Simply SCAdian, no title required, and I'm very excited about the guest we have tonight. And I'm going to take it to Lucas, who will introduce him to us.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Simply SCAdian. No title required. As always, it is our mission to bring you the folks who are making and breaking it in the SCA that don't have a peerage, that don't have a title other than Lord or Lady at this point. And those people are just as knowledgeable as our friends who have achieved ranks and whatnot. We want to make sure that we can give them a spotlight, a showcase, someplace where that we as again regular folks in the SCA can learn something from just about everybody. So we'd like to keep that tradition going. So that again is always my challenge to you all to find those people. You know who is in your corner of the world. You know who we should be talking to. Somebody who's got a breadth of knowledge in any area we have talked to. And if you can go back and hit that YouTube page and go back through a lot of our wonderful previous guests, we've learned all manner of things on the show. I feel like I get this weird bi-monthly education on the SCA, stuff I could have never thought of. But the depth of research, the depth of knowledge, and the depth of passion that the people we've had on is just incredible. So again, hit up that Facebook page. Let us know who we should be talking to. Or maybe we should talk to you. I don't know. Um, as always, I will yell at you from the ether here and say, where are our folks overseas? Where are our folks overseas? We want to talk to them. So if you could get us in touch with somebody over there, we would love to do that. But today, it's not about overseas. It's about right here in River City. Okay. So today we're going to be talking to Caden Mac Michel, a second generation SCAdian, which I definitely want to get into that because a lot of people are first generation, and that's an interesting topic. I know. A bard by name and nature, proud to be a member of Holt Horatus under Duke Talamar. So Caden, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hello, hello.
So, first question, how did you find the SCA?
I was born into it. I was really lucky. My father, uh, I'm trying to remember which name he is actively going by now because he recently switched. Most of the people who know him as Michael Reese Armitage, Squire of Duke Comar, one of the Middle Kingdom's many, I think three-time kings. Um, House Vexillarius, love my dad, love his household. When we were young, my siblings and I decided that our parents were each allowed to get us into one really expensive hobby. My little sister does Warhammer 40K. I do this, so that's where I got into it from the crib.
Why have you stayed?
I have so many friends and I have so many hobbies that overlap in this. I love to sew. This is obviously a great hobby for people who can sew. Um, I I was raised closer to my father's squire brothers and their kins than I was many of my blood aunts and uncles. So the SCA is truly more than a social club for me. It's more than a hobby. This is where my actual family lives. So I don't think I could leave if I tried at this point.
That's awesome. So how young, like, can you remember like that first event? Like, how young were you, and like, what was that like? What was it?
Trying to remember specific like smaller events from my early childhood is really hard. I do, however, remember at least like clip memories of most of my early Penzics. Um, my my dad's household camped up in a part of Penzix campground that is referred to as Dagon's Dell, way out in the woods, which is now very close to parking or like in the parking area. And I remember at 5 or 6 years oldish, walking down to the merchants area from Dagon's Dell midday to like go to where the family area was at the time, which again, this is 25 years ago, so I don't have super clear memories of where everything was then. But I remember eating bread bowls at DeRosa's when I was little. I remember um, mostly I just remember my dad putting me in a weird long dress and letting me shoot a bow and arrow with my friends. And that was really, really cool when you're 6. Uh, I remember page school, which I don't know if a lot of groups still have actively anymore. Um, but as far as a first event, that's I literally was like in a baby sling at these things. I've been going for so long. So picking out like a single memory is difficult.
That's the way it is with my oldest. I found out I
Yeah.
was actually pregnant with them at 10.
Yeah.
So, they've never missed one. So what got you into the Bardic arts in the SCA?
Uh, for me, it was a combination of I enjoy singing, I enjoy attention, and I also have, for a lot of my life, found an interest in how did news, history, and education travel in a time where books were very difficult and timely and expensive to make and own, did not travel well, and very few people could read or write, at least of the common people. And the answer to those questions is primarily through music and storytelling. And I think that that's amazing. And I have been trying to dig up more research about it when I have the time. But I find it's a topic that I find very fascinating. So that's where my love for the Bardic arts comes from.
Are you kind of like a I like telling stories and singing from everywhere, or do you have like a focus like this is my jam, these stories?
I tell people that my persona is early period Celtic. The truth is that I really, really love Celtic folk music. I love the running gag that the sadder the song is, the more likely it is to be Irish in origin. Uh, they have a lot of really sad, beautiful
Yeah.
songs, and I think that time period, that culture for music, is one of my favorites at the very least.
So let's. I just want to jump back because I currently have children in the SEA. I have three, and they have been around for a while, but they are now currently traversing what I refer to as the weird age. You know what I mean? Like they're not in the childlike starstruck anymore.
Yeah.
But for like especially my youngest, he's 14. So he's not doing the fighting thing and he's not training for that and whatnot. He's in that weird underserved area of the SCA as far
Yeah.
as like queens and teens are concerned. How did you traverse that area? What kind of things kept you involved and interested through that? Because I think there's a lot of baronies and areas that could benefit from hearing like this worked for, that age.
So I'm not sure if this works for all kids. It definitely worked for most of the kids in my household. Holterotis is full of second generation Scadians who are in the same age bracket that I am, who are in their early to late 30s, who have been in the SCA our entire lives. And what worked for us was the lady of our household and honestly every other adult in the house making being helpful and being present fun and rewarding. When I was in that preteen period, the lady of our household, Lady Melisande, made us little pins that said minion on them. And whenever you did something helpful, like at an event or at camp, you got to wear your minion pin. And it was a running gag that in my late 20s, there's a woman in my area who makes beautiful glass, like Viking glass beads. She will make beautiful recreations, but she also makes fun, goofy ones that are absolutely not period. as evidenced by the fact that she made little like Despicable Me minion glass beads that were then given out to the minions of camp. Um, so from a young age, being shown that being helpful, being there, and spending time with your friends and family will be rewarded in fun and interesting ways really, really worked for us. That, and I guess continuing to push into like archery, thrown weapons. My husband is our is the deputy regional thrown weapons marshal for for the Oaken region. He's in the other room. He's going to hear me say something wrong. Um, but uh, I've watched him with preteens and children on the range, and getting them excited about getting to throw a sharp thing at a big piece of wood is really fun. It's really great.
Yeah, I remember when Rowan is 26, so you probably met each other at some point in the North Oaken region.
Yeah.
They got into Commedia, but they also like the kids would just sit around on their DSs, and just play, or Magic the Gathering is a really th big thing that a lot of the teens and tweens get into together.
For in my household, we specifically at Penzic, we had nights long runs of Dungeons and Dragons in our
Yep,
camp.
yep, we did that.
Camp game nights are always a blast.
So
So,
what?
go ahead. No,
Nope,
you.
after you. No, after you.
Okay, I was gonna kind of steer it back to Bardic. So as I mean, again, as you were coming up, what was that first performance like? Listen, I also want to credit you for something, saying something that most bards would never admit is saying that you like attention.
I love it. I
Uh, I thank you. Uh,
I sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm so camera shy. Oh, please don't look at me. No, I'm a bard. I love the sound of my own voice. I wouldn't be doing this if I did. Come
what
on.
was that? What was that first story then? What was
Um,
that first, like, I'm doing this or
so
song or
the first proper like at a thing performance that I did, um, we were we camped across from a bard who's fairly well known, Master John. I believe he's passed now recently, but he was Talamar's royal bard when he was king, and he heard me singing in camp and thought, this kid has a good voice. I'll take you to a contest. And it was a competition at Penzic specifically for first time performers. And I did I Live in Is Free. And I think I did a pretty good job. And I felt so good and so excited to have this master bard being like, yeah, you did great. You did good. Thank you. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to die. I would think I was 13, 13 or 14. And that was really exciting. That was a very, very cool moment for me.
do you like do you compete? Do you teach or do you just perform?
I do not compete. I think the last competition I did was um, Penzic. I'm just going to put out a number like 12 years ago. There was a sad song competition at Penzic. That was fun. That unfortunately, my sibling and I, who performed together, went right on after a woman who made the entire audience cry because she sang a song about her knight who passed away and how she's never giving up her silver chain. And I had a hard time performing because I was also crying. So naturally she won. That was a tough act to follow, but it was beautiful. But mostly I traipse around bardic circles and I sing and I tell stories and it's fun. I just do it for kicks.
What do you do in the modern world? I mean, I've heard you sing and you have an absolutely beautiful voice.
Thank you. Appreciate
What
that.
sort of training have you had? Did you study this in college or what?
I I was in some form of choir from the time I was 8 until I left high school. And while I was in high school, because I went to a college preparatory academy, I also took a year of music theory. I was also in band from 10 years old through to high school. So that's where my musical experience comes from. I can read music, I can translate music. Um, I will never ever in this life or the next claim to have perfect pitch, but I have decent pitch, and that is the extent of my musical training. I didn't study it beyond high school.
Okay.
You perform in the mundane world? Like, do you do choirs now or musical theater or anything
No,
like that, or no?
no, I would love. I think musical theater is fun. I think it's a blast. And I have friends in my local community, local theater community, who do musical theater. I work as a barista, so that's where the money comes from. But I've seen my friends struggle in musical theater. I'm like, you're better than I am, and you're having a hard time, so I'm good.
So you talked a little bit about the fact that you sew as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that. How'd you get into sewing?
Um. Well, it started because so I'm a transgender person. So my first SEA garb was me looking at the Lord of the Rings movies and going, I want to dress like Arwen from Lord of the Rings. And my mom going, I'm not making you a dress like Arwen from Lord of the Rings. Do you want to make your own dress like Arwen from Lord of the Rings? Going, well, if that's how I have to get it, then that's how I'm getting it. And so she bought me the pattern and the material, and I taught myself how to sew so I could have the big, long, flowy sleeves so I could feel like an elven princess. And now I look more like a
Dress? Wait,
dwarf.
was it the blue dress or the green
Um,
dress when she gets married?
the the blue one,
Love that
big
dress.
big blue floaty. Oh, I just wanted to, with the deep blue one with the red trim that she wears when she makes herself more. Yeah, that's. I needed that dress. I needed it in my heart and soul, and I made it.
Now, did you delve into Celtic after that? Like, did you really like start looking at your period and going like, I can
Yeah,
make that, I
that's.
can make that?
I think I started to get a little bit more serious about having like an actual solid persona when I came out. Because at that point you're like, okay, well now I'm changing my name legally in the real human world, and it feels like I should make myself a more solid identity in this other world that I'm part of as well. And so I think that's when I got more serious about having an actual persona.
How did your parents take you not becoming part of Komar's household and becoming part of Talamar's household?
So the my father is Comer's household house hilarious. My mom was unaffiliated household wise for a long time. She was my father's wife, but House Vex and Holterotis both have a standing tradition of not assuming membership for anyone. That includes spouses and children. If you want to be a member of those households, you have to take the step to become a member of them yourself. And my mom never took that step with House Vex. She did, however, in her time in the SCA, make friends in Holterotis. So when the time came for she felt like she was doing more, she wanted to be in a household, she joined Holterotis. Um, so at the same time, Komar was less active. House Vex was camping together less often at Penzic, and so it felt right for as my mom joined Holterotis for us to start camping with them, and they also had a much nicer camping spot, so that was very helpful for everybody. So they're both fine with it. My dad and his current lady are both actual members of Holterotis now because, as I said, the House Vex has sort of slipped in terms of their activity levels, and Holterotis is still going strong.
Yeah. So for those people who are not from the Mid-Realm, can you tell us a little bit more about Talamar and his lady?
Yes. So Talamar, um, Gani Lewin, the third of his name, because he has been king 3 times, uh, is first of all a five. Sorry, I'm trying to do the math. Four-way peer. He is a royal peer. He is a member of the chivalry. he is a pelican, and he is a laurel. His laurel is specifically in researching. That is his thing. He is an incredibly intelligent man, and he is so currently invested in specifically Anglo-Saxon research that he has been asked to present mundanely, like at a scholarly academic level, on his Anglo-Saxon research and recreations. Um, Amazing. His wife is no less incredible. Um, Melisande Marmont, Baroness, Honorable Lady of the Laurel and the Pelican. Her laurel is in costuming, and also just an incredibly talented person. And I started to take off my necklace because this is my very badly faded household medallion.
Nice.
Yes, this is the first one I got, which means that it's beat to hell. There's a nicer one hiding somewhere in my luggage, but I cannot for the life of me find it. Um, but they are both wonderful people. I think anyone who's been to Penzance is may or may not be more familiar with Talamar's late wife, um, Queen Aislinn, for whom the mount is named. Um, so he is that Talamar of legend who was married to that Aislinn of legend. And to get to be part of such an amazing household is truly an honor that I will never, never, ever be able to live up to, even if I do achieve the same levels of rank that they have. Um, they're just awesome. They're so cool.
So
Well,
that leads me to another question. I wanted to talk about households, because some of the people who watch this show are newer to the SCA. So can we, the three of us, have a genuine conversation about why choose a household? What's the benefit of being part of a household?
Yeah.
How to choose a household? Let's dive into that. So, like, what do we have? Do any of you have a definition of a household?
So,
my understanding is that it doesn't require much more than uh, to formally establish one, that you are a group of like-minded people that decide to attend events and camp and whatnot together. Because, like for me, I don't necessarily have a household according to the SCA, but according to my barony, I'm in a household because I've camped. My group is Ravenspittle. They've been in the barony of Setmore for 30 years, 40 years. Um, and everybody at Setmore considers that a household. The members of Ravenspittle, who now it's almost like a half and half play, half don't. Um, they don't consider themselves one, though people do. And we've never done anything formally to consider that. And we're kind of looking at that official status now, since there's a lot of us who play. We looked into device, that is, you know, and then we were told that there's not much more to it than kind of declaring you're a household. It's not really, I mean, unless, it's different elsewhere, and or I'm mistaken.
it has been my understanding that there are two main definitions of household. One being the one that you described. It's like, we're a group of friends and family who camp together, hang out together, go to events together. And then the other definition that I have heard and grown up with is a peer and their dependents can be considered a household. Like a knight and his squires and their children and their spouses could be considered a household because, in medieval terms, the knight is the lord of the castle. His squires, their wives and children, would live with them and be part of that noble household. So, but I consider both definitions equally correct. And certainly, I think that the household that I am in fits both definitions. We are a group of people who consider themselves friends and family, who camp together, hang out together, and go to events together. We are also a peer and all of his friends who he said, "Hey, I have a really good camping spot. You should hang out." And I believe that it functions very, very well. And I think that both definitions are valid.
So why join a household?
For me personally, um, I appreciate the first of all, as previously mentioned, the camping spot's pretty sick. You don't have to be a member of Holterotis to camp with us, but it on years where room is a little bit tighter in our block, it does guarantee you a spot. Um, but for me, it was these people are my family in spirit. I feel like I want to make them my family in name as well, and joining the household officially felt like a good step towards that.
Right.
Is there, I mean, in your estimation, is there political value that comes with it? I know that like when picking a, leadership, baron, baroness, things of that nature, that those almost become like, I don't know if they voting blocks, but like they because, so does that, I mean, have you ever seen it that referred to that way where like if you have a large household and a very, involved household in a barony or an area that they can kind of steer the
Sway the
direction of
vote.
the, yeah.
I think that for some households it could end up leaning that way. I know that in terms of baronial discussion, it's been mentioned a few times at like our household meetings or at events where there's a lot of us. Um, as far as political, I think that it's more in terms of social movement rather than political support. I do know that being part of an older and more established household with a high population of peers has given a few other members of my household sort of a lot of assistance when it comes to developing in their own peerages.
Mm.
And for instance, my husband, who joined the SCA shortly after we started seeing one another, uh, is is now a protege and an apprentice himself. Both of those being two people within the household who are pelicans and laurels. So being in an older, more established household can be helpful in that way. As far as political, I'm sure that there are some where they are a little bit more active in discussion of like, so this is who we should be voting for in terms of that area. But because my household is more physically widespread, I don't think it happens as often for us. I'm sure that it could be though. I
Yeah,
can definitely see that.
it has happened when I lived out east. It was very prevalent with there were two fighting households that were very political. Um, uh, and um, I used to be part of a household that I have now no longer part of. But for me, we're mostly we all clustered around Duke Doggin, Dogginsdale. Duke Doggin was the head of our household, and we were his people, which is when I looked down earlier, I was actually looking up a definition of SCA households. I didn't say anything because you two summed it up. But it's nice to have a like-minded group of people that you hang out with. And Duke Doggin did help me with my path to Laureate, and I did become his protege as well before he passed on.
I mean, I would also add to it for anybody that's new that's looking into it. I mean, part of it is I think households are also kind of fun as far as the SCA is concerned. Like to to call somebody your brother or your sister in a household as you're creating a persona and whatnot, I feel like that adds to your you know what I mean, like the sort of getting into your character and the gameplay of it and the
Yeah.
the creation of like feeling like you're in this environment in this world. I think that households definitely help with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that becomes part of it. Like, you're like-minded people, but like you said earlier, it's a found family.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, and that just kind of, you know, just adds to the level of it in a lot of ways too,
It's also I think a great way to keep you to keep people active. 'Cause as I said, as long as I've been doing this, there have been times where gone through periods of relative inactivity, where I've like missed like a year or two's worth of events. But in the end, it is always the draw to come see my family and friends again that brings me back. Um, and now it's making sure that my spouse stays on track and going with him to events sometimes, tagging along just for funsies, just to get out of the house. But having a household can be a really good push to keep you going.
So how do you choose a household? I think that's the next question. For you, you grew up, Caden, in a household, but also friends with a second household that you ended up joining,
Yeah.
right? But how does that happen?
I being in the age group that I'm in and having some friends who were not born into a household, I have seen that some households, especially some fighting households, kind of take the assumption route of, oh, well, if you fight with us, you're part of our fighting group. Ergo, you are part of our household now. Welcome. Here's your badge. Um, and I think they kind of get sucked in a little bit. Um, I personally like that my membership of the household was never assumed, despite my affiliation. I but I can also see that, especially for young fighty types, the like these are my brothers in arms, my brothers in battle. Um, these are the men and women by whom I fight on a regular basis. These are the people that I'm going to bat for. I think that that's also a very good way to find a house. Let's find the people that make you feel safe and welcome and make you feel happy to go to events. And if they are part of a household, that's probably a household that you would also enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. And also take your time, I think is the other thing. I know too many people who've jumped into joining households rather than doing some investigation, checking out all their options. Make sure that this is the right group of people for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've also seen it from the other direction too, where households almost like fraternities and sorority, like they look for people and they consider them for membership and whatnot. It's not, you know what I mean? Especially if there isn't a common element like the fighting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're a familial household that doesn't really have that. They might have fighters within it or other people within it, but then they actively kind of seek that. And they have some kind of criteria and whatnot as well, too, for who they're looking for and why they're looking for it and whatnot. I would assume that when like for us, because it's a camp first and a household second, our membership is based on, how many years were you camping with us, how much, and then it's sort of voted on before you're approached that like, hey, do you want membership? Do you want to be in the family? Kind of thing
Yeah.
too. So
So I think, yeah, because the whole thing, this goes back to you being second generation SCAdian, Caden. For you, you just being in a household was part of your life.
Lucked into it.
Right. But for these newer, younger members, I think that's a serious question that they're
Yeah.
gonna they're gonna want answers to.
I think that, as Lucas said, I think that taking your time is very important. I think that first things first, you should find friends. Um, take as many classes as you find interesting. Talk to as many people before and after those classes. Because chances are, if you are seeing the same faces at events and at these classes, then those are people that are going to be fun for you to hang out with, regardless of what the class is about or where the event is. If you're frequently going to the same things, surprise, that's someone with whom you share a lot of hobbies and interests. Uh, the fact that you're in the SCA means that we probably share a lot of hobbies and interests, but getting down to the even deeper, find friends first. If those friends have a household or know someone who has a household, maybe then talk to them about it, think about joining it. But take your time. There's no rush. The more important thing is that you have a support group to start out with. Um, I didn't. I may have been born into the SCA, and born with multiple house affiliations. I didn't formally join Holterotis until I was 25, 24, 25 years old. Um, even possibly even a little older than that, maybe 26 or 27. Point is, not until I was in my 20s. Um, there is truly there are more reasons to take your time and to be selective about the household that you could be considering joining rather than rushing into it. And if your main concern is finding somewhere to camp at large events or finding people to hang out with, talk to people in your local group. You most especially if it's a group that is local to the Pensick area, be it like the Ohio, Pennsylvania area, a lot of them will have their own group encampments, and even some of the further off ones do. So camp with your kingdom, camp with your barony or your shire. Worry about households later. As long as you have friends, you're good. You're so good.
All
Where
right,
does the
so
name
go
wait,
ahead.
where does the name Holterotis come from? What is
Grove of the White Stag. It is an Anglo-Saxon word.
okay?
All right, this is the mom question, Caden.
Yeah.
First party at Penzic. Tell me about it once you were
Oh,
21.
yeah. Okay, it's the instant I turned 21. I did. So my birthday is in March. So I had to wait months before I went to my first Pensick party with my fresh brand spanking new turned it sideways ID. Um God, I'm trying to remember who was the one who dragged me to my first party. I think that was the year that the other at this point I was one of the last people in the household to turn 21. I think my younger sister is the only child of our household who's younger than I am, and as mentioned, she got into Warhammer 40K, so she's not in the SCA. We had a thing called Tankard Baby, which was actually a cooler in the shape of a stein, but we put it in a baby sling like a cloth wrap, and we filled it with vodka and cranberry juice and stuck it full of silly straws. And we wore it around to the parties, and there were rules for Tankard Baby that were very complicated, mostly about making each other feel as uncomfortable as physically possible. Um, Including that if it was just you sipping from Tankard Baby, you had to make direct eye contact with the person who was carrying him. And if it was two people drinking at the same time, you had to make eye contact with each other while you drank. Um, so that was very fun and awkward for everybody involved. Um, but in addition, sorry, just doing this slightly. Uh, the first actual party that I went to, no, it wasn't the Eldermere. God, I think I just went to Setmore Swamp. I think my friends were like, "You have to go see the fire dancers at Setmore," and so we did. Yeah, thank you, Lucas. Your camp
That's
throws. Hey, look,
that's those are my people.
your
In
people
fact,
throw the best parties.
yeah, those are my people. That's uh those fire dancers too are like friends of mine. Like a lot of the ones that go up there and do that are Raven Spidlers who then go up and do that party. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good one.
it's a good one.
Mm.
Uh
So
have you been down have you been down you look very familiar. Have you been down to the boat? It's
I
like we
have, yeah, I
yeah.
just a couple times, but
Yeah. But I mean, when
enough.
we open the bar and stuff like that, I'm one of the bartenders, and then I mean, I meet, I see and I meet everybody, and then remember nobody. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
of course.
Hayden, you and I and your husband are going to go down to Ravenspittle this year at Penzic. We're going to make a date and we'll go
Yeah,
sing
New bar.
songs for them and tell stories.
Yeah,
absolutely.
there'll be a whole new bar this year and a whole new setup. So
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, look, my camp is really easy to find. We're the ones right next to Mid Memorial.
okay,
All
Yeah.
right.
All the white stags on the gate. That's us.
what
So
can I ask real quick? What's the bracelet?
So this one is
Yeah.
one that my friend made for me. It's a charm bracelet of tarot cards.
I was wondering what they were specifically, but that's awesome.
Yeah, and then the other one is my wedding cuff. It has the Old Norse word for lover on it. My husband made
Oh,
it for me. Uh
That's cool.
but
okay.
yes.
So can I want to dive into being transgender in the SCA. Are you okay talking about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what has your experience been as a trans man in the SCA?
Um this is maybe because of the area that I'm in just physically. And the people that I have surrounded myself with locally, my experience has been overwhelmingly positive. It is my understanding that not every queer person in the SCA has that same experience. Um, and, obviously, I don't know what people say about me when I'm not in the room, but the way I came out, and because I came out when I was 18, I told a member of my household who's a herald, I said, so I'm thinking about making my official SCA name Caden Mac Michel. And she went, that's a boy's name. And I said, yeah. And she's like, that's fine. There are like lots of people who identify one way whose personas are another. And I said, I'm also thinking about changing my legal name to Caden. And she went, huh, okay. And then she made quiet note of that. And then because that was at our summer Pensic planning party, we get together at Talamar and his wife's house every year to get all of our ducks in a row for Pensic and make sure that our kitchen is set up properly. Um, and when I got to Pensic that year, everybody was calling me Caden. And there was one instance where during our family dinner, we have a family court dinner the Wednesday of War Week, and uh, Duke Talamar called me up for something. I probably to thank me for my help in the kitchen because that's 99% of what I do. Um, he said "lady," and then everyone behind me shouted "Lord" at the exact same time, and I didn't have to lift a finger. Um, so very supportive. I will say that having people my dad's age, because my father is a more conservative person, but having my father having people he considers intelligent, responsible, respectable peers calling him out on his nonsense was helpful both in the SCA and in my mundane life. Um, but I haven't had any issue with my local group. Again, I know that that's not always the case. And my heart goes out to the people who don't have as supportive of a local group as I do. But my people are awesome. They're
Yeah.
great.
I always say that my daughter's husband is a trans man. But I always say my biggest smile are for people that I can tell are either new or on the LGBTQ rainbow. Like
Yeah,
those are the people I give the biggest smile to always because I want them to know I'm safe, I'm welcoming, doesn't matter to me, I'm here for you. And I wish more people in the SCA would be like that.
yeah, absolutely.
All
I mean,
right.
I'm going to say I just on a positive note, I just really like that it's a positive story. I mean, on the show, but also many times, like you said, we don't hear that there are. I don't know that we hear more positive stories than we hear negative stories. That there was a struggle or a push or there was a problem at first or whatnot, and we really need to hone in on that and stop those things from happening. But it's nice
Yeah,
to hear that that's not the case everywhere. So I'm
yeah.
very happy that you didn't have to deal with
It's
so much adversity.
it's been great. There are also in my local group there are first of all a ton of queer couples in my local group. One of whom has a child who came out as trans, I think, a decade ago, which was still a decade after I came out. So I felt like the cool trans big brother who was helping him come out. There's also a young gentleman who started camping with my group 5 or 6 years ago, and I knew the second that I saw him. I I got eyes on this kid, and people make joke about Gaydar. I knew, I think a year before he did, and then he came out, and I said, "Yeah, yeah, no joke, dude. Really? Yeah, okay. Nobody saw that coming.
Nice.
All right, but
All right, we're almost out of time, so it's time for the last question. What can the SCA do better?
um, this is gonna go against a lot of the stuff that I've said, but uh, calling out knights on their bullshit. Just because they can throw a stick really good, and because they have maybe earned a title or two from it, does not mean that they are the end all be all of true, actual caring and respecting chivalry, and does not mean that they are above getting their asses beat verbally or physically on the odd chance. There is a friend that I had. I'm not going to call out the knight's name in particular, but she was a member of this household, and she called him out on some sexist behavior and was immediately shunned by her entire household, including a knight that I really respected, who didn't like actively turn his back on her and say, "No, this is wrong. You shouldn't have spoken to this man like that." But in the, I shouldn't be the one to call him out. Like one knight to another, it's just not appropriate. Um, and I don't want the conflict. I'm like, no, if you wear that golden chain, I expect you to stand up for what you actually believe in. And if you don't, you're a bitch.
Yeah,
Respectfully.
yeah,
I don't know if there's a respectful way to say that, but
right,
there it
You're
is.
right. You're
right.
right.
That's entitlement in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are literally titled. It is entitlement. Um, but yeah, that's
Well, this is
thankfully,
no
yeah,
this is no title required. So
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, respectfully, call the knights out on their sexist, stupid bullshit. Some of them are older than dirt and have opinions that reflect that. And maybe they need to shut up about it a little bit.
Right.
that I have to say that you brought that up. That's the other thing that I'm really happy about meeting you and having this conversation today is the fact that there is that belief that the SCA is just getting older, that there isn't new blood, that there isn't young thought, that there isn't people who are willing to just take the reins and have the change, but that layer on top has to go away and let them take over. And just
There's so
hearing
many
about
of
you,
us.
but your group, that there is you know what
Yeah.
I mean, that there's a household of these like-minded younger people is very
Yeah.
encouraging.
Don't get me
um
wrong, all of our parents are still very much involved, but um yeah, I think that there's honestly at this point almost as many second generation kids in our camp as the I say kids because again we're all in our 30s, almost our 40s. But almost as many of the second generation as there is of the first in our camp at this point.
Nice.
Plus our spouses and all of that.
Yay.
And more
right.
every year.
Good. Take over the world.
We're going for it.
Um, all right. We have been talking with Caden McMichael. This is Simply Scadian, no title required. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Caden.
Thank you guys so much.